Hello and welcome to The Hardest Game. My name's Ben Doughty and I'm especially happy to be joined this evening by my good friend, former British and Commonwealth and IBF World Cruiserweight Champion, Glenn McCRORY, a man who really needs no introduction to any remotely committed boxing fan. How's it going, sir?
Yeah, well, I'm glad you give us one anyhow there, Ben. But yeah, everything's good, mate. Everything is good. It's certainly on the up. Thanks very much.
Good to hear it, because as soon as I said you were coming on, people were saying, "Oh, I wonder what Glenn had been up to," because you were a part of certainly the British boxing fans' consciousness throughout much of the 1990s and the 2000s. You know, because I suppose you were as well known for being a Sky pundit, particularly that iconic combination with Ian Darke, as you were for your illustrious fighting achievements. It's fair to say. And then that all stopped. I mean, do you see that as a very much a different chapter of life nowadays when you look back at it?
I think so. It's like my boxing career was a chapter. Winning the British, the Commonwealth, the world, and all the great times and hard times that I had in that. And then I went straight from there. I won the world title, and the next minute, the next fight I'm commentating with Ian Darke in 1989 for the first live show on Sky, and then that went on for 27 years, which was a great time. Covered some great fights, had some great memories, met some great people. But everything comes to an end. And then it was a case of, I was I was a pioneer for Boxing Social. I was a pioneer for Fight Zone. So it's still actually been going on till very recently. I've still been involved. But in life, as you know very well, Ben, there's ups and downs, and I've had some big, all through my career, all through my life, I've had some very big ups and some very big downs as well.
Yeah.
And that comes to us all. We've all got our fights in life, and what we got to do is try and get through them the best we possibly can. And and I've been through a really tough time over the last few years. We all went through lockdown. Straight after lockdown, I went through a terrible time, and but with faith in God and the help of good people around me, you get through it. And I'm blessed to say that I came out the other end, and I'm still here. And I've also suffered with I do suffer with health issues, and I've suffered most of my adult life with mental health issues. And so they come. There was a point where through it all, it was hitting me, and that was part of the highs and lows. But there's a point, Ben, when that comes to the front, and and it was very hard to deal with everything. It was very hard, and thank God I got specialized help. And I'm here talking to my buddy. I'm here talking to my buddy out the other end.
Well, I know that you went through a legal situation which sounded quite absurd. I don't know how much you even want to discuss it on this occasion, but it sounded like something patently absurd. Which, while you were exonerated, to the best of my knowledge, it was it cost you a lot. It did a lot of damage while you were defending yourself and vindicating yourself. Is that fair to say?
It cost me everything. I lost everything.
Even though you were innocent of the thing that was being alleged.
But in this crazy world, for lots of people, you're innocent till proven guilty. If you've got a name, if you're in the public eye, you are branded. They brandish your name all over, and which means you're guilty until proven innocent. And and that's very, very unfair, because the damage is done. and I lost everything. I lost contracts. TV stopped. Everything stopped. Work dried up. No money at all. Lost my flat. Lost every single thing. And and probably the worst thing was people disappeared. Friends disappeared.
Yeah.
Family, people weren't there, and some of that would have been my own fault, because when you've been labeled across national papers and television, all the rest of it, you in your head then, especially if you've got mental health issues and depression and stuff like that, then you are guilty, and it seems that everybody that looks at you is looking, saying, look at him, he did this, he did that, and it was so ridiculous how it all, the circumstances that it all came about.
There was an American gentleman who's just on there now, who always tunes into the show, and he's just asked. He said, "What was Glenn accused of?" Being from the States, he probably didn't hear about the case. Would you care to explain it briefly, Glenn, for his benefit?
Yeah, I was at a boxing show. Usyk, AJ in Tottenham, just come out of lockdown. Thought it was fantastic. I'm doing a speech in one of the suites, and it was for the ringside guests. This is late afternoon, 4 or 5 o'clock. We got in there. I got up, did my piece on stage, entertained about 100 ringside guests, paying thousands. Sat down at my table, and I said to the young lady waitress, "Excuse me, can I get my dinner? Can I get my starter pet?" She looked at me rather funny and walked away. I then got ignored, just blatantly ignored. And I'm turning their back on me. The waitresses tapped one on the hand and said, "Excuse me, can I get my starter? It's in the bin." And this went on. Eventually, I got some a main course, and I was just baffled, bamboozled by the terrible service, and then went and watched the fight. Never thought nothing of it. Went back to Tottenham a couple of weeks later for another show. Everything went fine. The big boss showed me around the stadium. Everything was fine. A week later, I get a message saying there's been a complaint, disorderly sort of conduct at an event. Can you come down to Wood Green Police Station? I went down there, and they said, "It looks, you've been." The waitress, a couple of waitresses have said you're out of order, and you're up on a disorderly charge. And I said, "Well, absolutely not guilty. I did nothing whatsoever." They said, "Well, you called a pet like a dog."
Oh, God. Yeah.
And I was like, eh?
That's a northeastern term of endearment,
normal.
right?
Yeah,
that's a northeastern term of endearment.
Absolutely. And if you watch Vera, that wonderful series that ran for 17 episodes, she called everybody pet, and it's just a normal, people call people pet, honey, darling. It's endearing. It's not. And it was, we were in a full lit building. It was, but then, because you get into the system, and everybody's kind of scared. Everybody's scared to stand up and be counted these days because of various things. This went on for 6 months as we fought it back and forth to London, paying for solicitors, all this sort of stuff. And then I got through the door a letter off the CPS saying the charges have now been upgraded to 3 counts of sexual assault, with 10-year prison sentences for each one. And
that's unbelievable.
That then went across national newspapers, TV, and that was then everything stopped. The support, everything just stopped, and my life became a living nightmare for the next year and a half. So it was a 2-year, just went lost in everything. People pulling out of, nobody booked me for any shows anymore. A contract that I had, which I was told that was for life with a company, they pulled out, and my world just went to complete tatters. It got so bad. My mental health plummeted. I tried to take my own life, and it got, I then had I then got help from the doctors and hospitals and that sort of stuff, and I came through a terrible ordeal, having to go to court, which was a week in Tottenham, all at my expense. And it went on for a week and was over in 10 minutes. It was out in 10 minutes after all the evidence was put in. It was not guilty on all three charges in 10 minutes. And, and then it was just a case of, well, we're sorry, Mr. McCRORY, but the case is over, not guilty, you're free to go. You're free to go. And so then it's a case of, that was a year ago, just over a year ago. And it's been, I have not done one day's work since.
One of our viewers has just said it sounds like an example of wokeness gone mad. I mean, do you feel that is just one example of the bewildering world that we live in nowadays?
I think it is. I think it really, really is. I mean, and there's so much badness going on in this world, and people are just so scared that they haven't picked up on it and they're going to make a mistake, so they stop then thinking about what's right in front of them. I mean, it was this was cameraed to the hilt. It's Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It just needed somebody, and at some point it just I went to several tribunals, several court cases, and they just passed the buck. The judges just passed the buck until it went to Crown Court, when someone had to make a decision, and it was the judge, they still put it to a jury to let the jury make the decision, and the jury had it over and done in 10 minutes. So that was a really hard thing to go. And it's you think a year ago, I think people thought, oh well, that's over, great, get on with your life. And your life, you can't just pick up your life like that. I was scarred, busted, broke, been through it all, and you can't just pick it up. And it's nice of people to say, oh, I knew, we all know, love you, Glenn, and we all support you and all this sort of stuff. But the damage to me was done, mentally and physically. I was destroyed.
The thing that impresses me about you, Glenn, because I spoke to you a couple of times since all this happened, is I get the impression you're not bitter. Like you've gone past it. You don't even direct any anger towards the waitress or waitresses who made the complaint. And you seem like you're actually got more. You're above that as a man, and you went through a bad time, and now you're battling on.
I think one of my faith was the biggest thing that got me through it. And my faith in God, and you put your trust in God, and at times it feels impossible, and at times I couldn't go on. I physically couldn't go on, and it's at times like that you realize that God is there with you all the time, and God has carried you through those dark patches that you couldn't handle yourself. And so that builds your faith. That builds your faith so much. And this came at a time when I think my life had gone from bad, not bad, but you as a kid, things had gone wrong. In my boxing career, things went really, really bad. And you kind of start drinking heavily, dabble in drugs, and it then becomes a downward spiral. It becomes a downward spiral, which that's where I got to. And I needed completely fixed. I was absolutely done when that happened, and that just pushed me over the edge, Ben, and I couldn't take it. And I needed my faith to get me through. I needed a few good people, very few. It was very few good people that got me through it. And it was people like yourself that kept in touch. There was so many that you never ever heard from. and haven't heard from since. So it's if it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger.
In
And
recovery circles, they talk about the need for a rock bottom, like about the kind of almost the gift of desperation. They use that phrase. Do you feel there's something in that where you, for some reason, God wanted you to go on this journey and to arrive at such a low ebb that you become so receptive to what you need to become receptive to that you can rise again, having had that kind of battering from life? Do you believe there's something in that?
Yeah, I think you're onto something there, but I don't think God put you. God doesn't want you on that journey. We put ourselves on that
Yeah,
journey. We make the wrong decisions. We have the wrong choices, and sometimes it's genuine mistakes. You generally pick the wrong thing to do. You think it's fun or whatever,
yeah.
but that's when
Hedonism.
that's when the slippery slope starts, and you just keep making it worse and making it worse, and you go from one mistake, one bad relationship hits into another one. If you get a bad relationship, and then you hit the bottom, and then that causes breakups with your family, and it just and you've had problems yourself. That it
Yeah.
spirals out of control, and you keep stopping and thinking, I can handle this, I can come again, Then there's a point comes, and like you said, rock bottom, where it's almost like if you survive, you have to change. You have to
Yes.
change. And,
Literally.
and basically, with my faith, I changed, completely. And my position at rock bottom kind of in a way helps you a little bit, because there's no money, there's no temptations, there's nobody around you,
No
so
distractions. So,
yeah, so God's kind of protecting you through that, and I really do believe that. And I think he strips you bare, and then it's your chance to start again. And I think you will compare with that, with problems that you've had yourself,
alcoholism. Yeah.
yeah, alcoholism,
Recovery.
and recovery, so you kind of, God gives you the chance to start again, and it's that's an amazing opportunity. So that's kind of where I am. I haven't really, when boxing has been my life, since I was a kid, and I've enjoyed it so much and had some amazing times. But even that went out of my life. I just did not. I could not go out. I couldn't face anybody. I didn't want to talk about anything. I had no interest in anything. And I basically got through going to church, praying, listening to Alexis French play his piano, just stuff, just almost, just stuff to mellow you out, to get you,
Yeah.
to meditate your mind and to concentrate. And it's a case of you can't help anybody else. You can't help your family. You can't, get over stuff. You've got to take this time to help you, to look after you and get yourself right before you can then help anybody else. And,
Yeah.
it's like, they tell you to put your seatbelt on, or, put your life jacket on, or your parachute on first
On the
before you
plane.
help
Yeah.
anybody else. And
Yeah.
that makes sense. You've got to help yourself first. So I feel I'm coming through it. I feel I'm coming out the other side. I think there's a saying, when you walk through hell, just keep going. And
Yeah.
I just kept one foot in front of the other, just kept going, just kept on my journey. And then you come out, and then the world starts to, instead of black and white, it starts to look, there's a ray of sunshine, and you start, and then things start to flicker again, and then you start to watch the boxing again, and then my other love is the arts and movies, and you start to watch movies again, and you start to talk to people again. So I'm at that stage where I'm just getting through it, and you know, I think you'll tell that you know, you spoke to me during the time, and you know, I didn't have no enthusiasm. I didn't have no
Yeah.
alertness. No, you know, no, I didn't want to be here, and that's a horrible thing. But I just didn't. You know, I've got beautiful kids and grandkids, but I did not want to be here. I did not want to be here, and so it's good when it's over. It's good when it's over, mate. So you're the first. You're the first one. You're the first one in the boxing world that I've really spoke to about any of this. So it's so thanks very much.
Yeah,
And
well, I
it would be an
appreciate it,
old
and I,
it would be an old pal who's been through it all with me. So thanks a lot, Ben.
as you said, Glenn, I mean, I've hit that rock bottom myself in life with
Mm,
my alcoholism, and I was in a pretty bad fix in 2017 when I got sober, and
yeah, I know,
I've
mate.
had time to reflect on all of that, you know.
Yeah,
But it's good to have you back on in the loop, boxing wise, because I think, you know, you are. Anybody will always say when your name is mentioned, especially after a hiatus like recently, they'll say, "I miss Glenn on the microphone. I miss Glenn commentating. I miss him being a part of the whole show." You know, so. I know we had a conversation off camera a couple of hours ago about some of the changes. The big Saudi Arabian, it's not a takeover bid, it is a takeover. It's happened already, you know. And you had certain thoughts about that. Perhaps you might want to elaborate for the benefit of our
yeah.
viewers about.
Well, it's very very sort of interesting watching that from afar. I have been to Saudi. I commentated. I presented the show. I think BBC. I presented the show for Amir Khan when he fought Billy Dibb. Um,
Yeah,
and
Saudi,
I,
yeah.
yeah, I told everybody, I told everybody, including when I was with Lennox, with all the princes. I told everybody in Saudi Arabia that they had to buy Newcastle United, and that worked all right. I don't know
Yeah,
if it was me. I don't know if it was me that forced that, but so in one respect, it's very good to see them putting, you know, to see Saudi putting big money in, putting great shows on, and you know, getting good, you know, getting people, you know, because of the money that's in, getting people to agree to have, you know, these massive fights. So I think that's all great. And you know, I go back to the day, you know, my first big fight was Larry Holmes, David Bay in Las Vegas in 1984. So you know, that was Vegas was a much smaller place back
yeah,
then. You know, much smaller place. It was still kind of, you know, we were at the Riviera and places like that where you know we're all a lot of the big places hadn't been built yet. So it was
yeah,
so it was right at the beginning, and that was an amazing time. It was great to see Vegas go, you know, to the heights of all the big fights where it became the place to be. But Vegas, a very very different place. You know, Sin City was Las Vegas, where everything, you know, everything was at your hands. Where it's now in, it's now because your boxing's in the Mecca. You're quite literally
yeah,
in Saudi Arabia, and it's become the Mecca of boxing. So it's a lot of positive and good things. I worry if that balloon bursts because
where does it
of,
leave us? Yeah,
yeah, you know, one of the things that, you know, in my Sky days, one of the thing that I loved and I still do is, you know, domestic boxing, domestic fights, grassroots. You know, seeing the York Hall, you know, I've been to the York Hall a million times for fights, and just seeing all that is is great. You know, and I don't want to see that. I don't want to lose that. You know, and I don't know what you're like, but I couldn't tell you. You know, I know Wardley is the Fabio Wardley's the British heavyweight champ, but I had to look that up, Ben, and
yeah,
I couldn't tell you, you know, any of the other British champs. Back in the day when I was a young kid, you know, you knew every British champ. You know, you knew what you were aiming for, who was in your weight, who was going through your friends' weights, who they had to challenge, and all this sort of stuff. And it was very, very important. And I would just, you know, it's okay having the hierarchy in the world titles, but you can't lose track of the ladder. And what we're seeing is, you know, with the YouTubers and all that carry on,
yeah,
you know, that they are, you know, my young boys, my youngest is just 10, he talks about the YouTube as if, oh, what do you think Jake Paul could beat Mayweather in his prime? And you think, what,
It's tragic.
what if it's like, but this is the age we live in, when people can get, can like yourself, can reach millions and millions on podcasts. But people can have that sort of viewing to pretty much to get the money to do anything they want.
It's about profile now.
Steps. Sorry,
it's about platform. It's about platform now rather than authenticity or talent.
And what we need to get back to is value. And value, it's not celebrity. Value is, a champ is a champ. A champ's not not a celebrity. So we need to get back to that, and the route up, that you go through in your northern area, your area title fights, your British title fights, your Commonwealth, your European, your world. We need to see them fights have an equal status, where,
to be fair to Turki El Sheikh,
put them on the map.
To be fair to Turki El Sheikh, he's very much against the YouTuber thing and the Misfits thing.
Yeah,
he's into real fights. I mean, I understand you.
Oh no, he's doing that. He's making real fights. I think he's great for the business. I mean, he's a breath of fresh air and doing some great things. But we've also got to remember all the kids that's coming up. And Ben, when people, footballers are the same, making astronomical money, but you think, most of the fighters on a local show have to sell tickets to get any money. If they sell no tickets, they don't get paid.
Yeah, some of them end up paying to fight, as you know, Glenn.
Oh, no, I know. And that is, that's a travesty in the sport. I think we need to really work on getting the importance back in the business at domestic level, and getting them domestic fights on TV, and getting the guys coming through the ranks. Because one day they're going to be the headliners. The British champs come. One day they're coming through, but we need to see them, and we need to see their journey and enjoy their journey.
Do you know what might help? This is a utopian suggestion, which might just take place because we live in a very transitional phase of boxing history. So Turkey's bought the Ring magazine, right? So the Ring magazine is the Bible of boxing once more, and is going to be, the print version has been resurrected. The Ring belt is already very prestigious anyway. That never changed. Under this new incarnation and new vanguard, it could become more important and prestigious than ever. Perhaps Turkey will push it so the Ring belt is the only one that people want to win in order to be recognised as a world champion, and the sanctioning bodies will lose their kind of foothold a little bit and will become less and less relevant, which means the British title and the traditional titles, even like maybe the NABF title, the European title, and the other national titles, depending where you come from, will have a lot more gravitas again, and there'll be one aspiring world championship, which is the Ring magazine belt. Could that happen? Maybe
it could happen. It could happen if there is something big enough and powerful enough and has enough money behind it, which Turkey has. So that is a very real. That's something that's very real that can happen. So I'm glad to be getting some enthusiasm back for boxing. I'm glad to be getting some enthusiasm back in my life. No, it'll be interesting to see how it all pans out. But I just want to, I'm going to beat my drum for domestic shows, and the televising of them sort of shows, and watch. I want to see. I don't want to see somebody I've never seen suddenly thrust into a world title fight and think, where's he come from? I want to see that journey, because that's as we growing up as kids, that's what made us love this wonderful sport, isn't it?
Yeah, well, you've got a guy like Conor Benn, who obviously is back in the game now after that kind of extended period of in a grey area that he was in. But they're talking about him versus Eubank Jr. April 26th. They've already signed it, but I think the venue is going to be Tottenham Hotspur. Ironically enough, Glenn, I take it you won't be going. But jokes aside, I mean, Conor Benn's never won a British title, has he? He's never even contested one. Has never mentioned one that I know of. But this will be
and again,
massive.
I think I've got to say, sorry for jumping in, Ben, but I've got to say, I think he should have had to do that. I don't think a name, same as a platform, should make any difference. Yes, they want to see the fight because there's two great names, but are they deserving? Are they deserving of a? Are they deserving? They're not their fathers, and are they deserving of a stadium? Are they deserving the hype? If you can make a TV guy, that big, a YouTuber, if you can make him into a massive fight, you can do that with fighters with big names, and there's no too big of names, but there's a weight differential, there's experience differential. I don't want to see any of the guys just because they're famous names and they're lovely kids. I like both the guys. I don't want to see them get hurt just because we forget. We override the safety issue because we want to make this fight, because we don't want to see that. We don't want to see a tragedy, because that'll put the game back decades.
On the subject of weight, funny enough, and I'm bearing in mind that I did say we weren't going to do a massively marathon show tonight.
Yeah.
But Adrian Knott, who's a biographer of Jimmy Wilde, says, would Glenn have felt more comfortable fighting at 14 stone 4 instead of the old 13 stone 8 limit?
Do you know what? If I when I turned pro, Ben, when I turned pro at 18, I was light heavyweight. Now I'm hoping one day my story will come out. We've been working on getting the film Carrying David made, and we're just looking for the final finance. That's very, very close. But people don't really know my story. I came in the amateurs as a light heavyweight at 18, straight in fighting heavyweights as a pro. Winning my first 30 fights, but ridiculously put in with fights like that. I should never ever have been. I should have started as a light heavy. I would have grew into the 13-8 cruiserweight division naturally. I was sparring Dennis Andes, for my second and third fights, and I was doing really well against Dennis just before he won the world title. I sparred Burbick for the Bruno fight. I was 19 years of age. I was Bone Crusher's sparring partner for the Bruno fight. I'd been in with some of the best fighters in the world, and then I was chief sparring partner for Mike Tyson when I was 21. And I was a natural cruiserweight. Then 13-8 would have been easy for me, but I'd already had a career. I was only 20. I'd already had a career as a heavyweight before it all got turned upside down. So, but anyhow, there's I'm really hoping that we can get this film Carrying David made, and that's where my energies have been going over the last year or so, into the script we've got now, and hopefully that gets made.
How far you were saying just the other day? You're not too far away, are you, finance-wise, in terms of getting it funded?
No, finance. We are 3/4 of the way through. We're looking for some investors that want to put some equity in. We need about 300,000 of a 2.5 million budget left to get it over the line. So it's getting close. Great guy, Glenn Kirby, producer and director from London, who's on top of this project, and hopefully we get this. He was also a boxer, and his brother was, I think, he was world silver medalist. His brother, but Glenn Kirby, yeah. So hopefully, please God, that's going to be on the big screen soon.
Okay, well, I mean that's someone we'll certainly look forward to with anticipation. I'll keep an eye on that. Hopefully, you and me are going to be out in Bali at some point as well in the spring. We're doing our little thing as well, aren't we? Yeah. More about that later, perhaps.
Yeah, definitely, Ben. And we can talk about lots as we go forward. The great thing is, it's great to talk to you, and I got my mojo back. So we'll be watch this space. We'll be back in boxing soon.
Thanks, champ. Always a pleasure, particularly a pleasure in your case. I will talk to you very soon, and just keep punching, all right?
You take care. God bless you, man.
Thanks, guys. I hope you enjoyed the show. Like, share, spread the word. Peace.
Take care.